Okay, so we are on the final part of how to trade the Bank Nifty series. Right now, before we let us assume that we were trading this morning, and we know the trend yesterday. All the ADRs fell. I showed you in yesterday's video how to pick up the trend from the ADRs. So Axis Bank, HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, all these ADRs fell. SBI did not fall; it went up a little bit, around 5 cents or something like that. I don't know. So with the exception of SBI, everything else fell. So we knew that the main weightages, the stock with the maximum weightages, were weak today, right? So what should we do? How should we trade? We know the trend is negative for today. Were there any announcements in the morning by anyone? Did the FM have a press conference? No, nothing. There were no clues. Or the only negative was that there was a virus, and that was hitting the markets in US and China and stuff like that. So it was bad news. So we knew the ADRs fell. We knew there was a virus. There was a problem. Indians, there was a liquidity problem. IMF has cut the growth forecast. So we knew the overall trend was negative today morning, right? So what we should do on the charts, we should set up the Bank Nifty futures. Okay, this is the Bank Nifty futures symbol on investing.com. I don't know what symbol is there on the tool that you use. So Bank Nifty futures is to be set up. You also set up the Bank Nifty cash as a comparison tool. Okay, and you set up the VWAP. Okay, so you have the Bank Nifty futures, you have the Bank Nifty cash. You know the trend. This is the most important thing. You know the trend is down. You know the constituents. All the constituents, the main constituents are here. If they start doing negative, you know the weightages of each. You know that if HDFC falls by $10, it's going to be $70 out, 70 points down on the Bank Nifty, and if ICICI Bank falls 9, it's going to be like 90 points. So you know the constituents, you know the weightages, and at one glance you can tell which stock is having the maximum impact on the bank, right? And what you should do is first 15 minutes you should not trade. Okay, you should just leave it. Now after the first 15 minutes, draw your pivot points, at the high and the low of the first 15-minute candle, right? You have your VWAP, you have added over here. Okay, so once you draw the high and the low on the 15-minute candle, you switch to 5-minute candles. Okay, now like this is the first 15 minutes not traded. I've gone to 5-minute candle, right? This is the this is where it starts. Today's okay. These first three candles are the first 15 minutes, right? Now after 15 minutes, if the price dips below the VWAP, it's a short. If it goes above the VWAP, it's a long, right? These are your pivot points, and at the same time you also have to correlate the Bank Nifty futures with the Bank Nifty cash. Now for example, the Bank Nifty futures were falling. The futures are falling over here. Even the line is sloping down, right? With the exception of this line where there's been some short covering out here, right? But like I've told you, you always keep trailing your stop losses. Even at this point, you can buy options with the stop loss. Now I said this is the last part, but I think I will do one more. I will correlate this with the ATR, time permitting, tomorrow. But this is broadly the trade setup. You don't use too many indicators with this. You just use your VWAP and you just compare these two lines, the Bank Nifty futures with the Bank Nifty cash. See, why Bank Nifty futures? Why you should compare these? Why, I'll explain to you. Now, for example, if you're playing with cash, if you're playing in cash, 20, one lot is 20, right? If you sell one lot, you have to pay the full margin, right? 20 into 31,000, that's 6 lakhs. But if you're doing futures, you don't have to pay the full margin. You can make do by paying something like 25-30%, stuff like that. And in the cash, you have to settle it fast, even though, so there is a difference. So the basic point that I'm trying to make is that in the futures market, you have 4x to 5x leverage than what you have in the cash market. So sometimes what happens, people buy in cash, but they hammer in futures. So especially for indices, Nifty and Bank Nifty, you must always watch the futures line more than the cash line. It has got more weightage because there's an expiry every week, and you never know what's going to happen in the expiry, and this could be a precursor to what's happening over there. So if both the lines are matching, that means you can take a chance. Now, for example, if you're taking a chance over here and shorted out here, perhaps perhaps you would have covered here. You would have got scared, but your pivot point is this is one pivot point, okay, and this is your second pivot point. So I don't know what your trading, what your risk management is, at what rate you will cover, but these are your pivot points to cover off. Okay, so perhaps you would have covered here, again shorted over here. I don't know how you think. It's not that this is a foolproof system. You know how Bank Nifty moves. Some stocks control the whole Bank Nifty. So I've shown you how to check which stocks are moving up and down. You know the ADR trend. You know the ADR trend was negative. You know there was no news in the morning. So, well, this is a trade setup. It's a very fairly simple trade setup to do. It can also result in losses, but once you know the trend, once you know the trend is negative or positive, then it will work 7 out of 10 times. For example, even here, if you had kept the VWAP as your stop loss, I mean, this trade would have worked out beautifully. But see, I don't want to do in hindsight. I want to start showing this to you in live market, perhaps a little later. Um, right. So this is what I want to tell you. This is your trade setup. Tomorrow I'll try to make a video on ATR, right? And we'll see how that goes. And thanks for watching this, and goodbye.